What's up, everybody, and welcome to Team Pizza Plays Spyro the Dragon! Now brought to you in dual person, same room-o-vision!
That means, for the low price of nothing, you get twice the Knucklehead for the price of one.
Yes, we're finally living up to that promise I made a long time ago. I'm in Ohio now with the rest of my team, which means we can do a whole lot more stuff together, including being in the same room. We're not doing this over Skype anymore.
There's no weird echo distortion, no me looking at images.
Yeah, we don't have to record this directly to the video file itself. Behind the scenes with Team Pizza, let's get this game started. So, why are we playing Spyro the Dragon?
Oh, so I figured to commemorate. Hold on.
Oh, that's why. I had the controller plugged in port 2 instead of port 1. Okay, well that's a little present for you guys. You get to see a little tidbit of what we're going to be doing here in a second.
Normally you have to go through shady means to get this kind of entertainment.
You know, I would normally that would constitute a restart, but considering the amount of crap we went through to get this begun in the first place, I'm just inclined to roll with it. But we'll tell you about that in a second, because first we've got lore to consume here.
In the world of dragons.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the Five Worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age. We now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
What about this?
That's a very good question, actually. How many gems are in this game? Do you remember off the top of your head?
If I recall, you complete this game with a grand total of 15,000 gems, if I recall.
So he's undershooting it, even.
To be fair, he's been around the block quite some time, Fnu.
Well, Nasty Nork ain't too happy about that. I like how they all have completely different looks about them before they get turned into crystal.
I love how, as dragons, they stood there and did nothing.
Oh no, magic's raining down from the sky.
What would I, a dragon impervious to magic, do to stop this? So.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yes, the old. You gotta turn on the.
There we go. Okay, for a second it wasn't working. All right. I'm just getting used to all the buttons here. It's been... I don't want to say I'm going into this blind. I have beaten this game before, but I haven't exactly played it in a while.
And me, while I myself haven't played it that recently, I have thumbed through so many playthroughs and thumbed through so much. Hold on, hey Nestor.
So even if I get lost, you'd be able to point me in the correct direction?
Pretty much, and basically...
You're coaching me through a game for once.
Mm-hmm. So everybody, what you'll probably notice us talking over is this game's main goal here is Spyro is freeing his imprisoned brethren from Crystal, and each time, almost majority of the time when they get freed, they're going to give Spyro some kind of hint or kind of say something to help keep him on goal, keep him on track while he's on his adventure here.
Or they could just say, "Thanks for saving me,"
and then just piss off.
Which they will do sometimes, if I remember correctly. Not all of them are necessarily helpful.
I mean, here with Delbin.
Horns on, Spyro! You have much to learn first. Do you know what the dragonfly following you is doing? His name is Sparks, and he's helping and protecting you. Keep an eye on him and see what...
I left that frozen waterfall in the background.
Yes, I was wondering if anyone would catch that. So, Delbin over there basically is hinting at Sparks' main function, and I'll just say it right now.
Yes.
He's your health bar.
Sparks is your health bar, which is kind of interesting. You saw a lot of games in this era talking about that, doing that kind of thing. Like Donkey Kong Country had the multiple Kongs acting like your health bar. This game had Sparks, who not only is a more visual representation of what your health bar is, it also... Sparks kind of helps you out because he picks up gems.
Yes, in later games, Sparks will gain the ability to point out any missed treasure you didn't get, or in addition to picking up treasure that's lying around. very helpful in that regard. But basically, what I do want to know is, I'm just picturing Spyro getting knocked upside the head, and then you freeze frame. You just see Sparks flying in and taking the hit like a champ. Or better yet, it's just aww.
What? He had gems I needed to collect.
Actually,
I'm justified.
Here's something hilarious here. So, Nasty Nork, his thing is he's turned a lot of the treasure into the enemies you'll be encountering in the game. So you're fighting these sapient beings made from crystal gems. Sound familiar?
Just a tad.
I wonder if we'll fight any Lapis or Jasper.
That is kind of a missed opportunity, is it? To actually design some of these enemies around the gems they were based on. Then again, you tend to get higher value gems from tougher enemies, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, they're just giving you lots of
twos. I got
and
1
ones.
5.
Yeah, they don't give you much. It's the really big enemies that are going to give you the gold and blue ones that just give you all the money.
Well, that's fair, I guess.
Yeah, and it comes back to another main reason we're doing this LP.
Yes, this is sort of a prequel to something I've been meaning to do for a while, which is a new series based on... It's a more analytical approach to Let's Plays. Like, take for instance this game. You may notice something. Look off in the distance at all of the background elements. Now, if we get a little closer to them, you notice them slowly sort of rewriting themselves, if you will. There's like a scanning effect. You can particularly notice it on those hills in the background. This was a technique that Spyro actually pioneered. The farther away you get from an element in the background, the lower a poly count it has, the less shapes they use to build it. This was their solution to draw distance. It allowed them to create these big open levels that had a ton of detail you could see forever in every direction. I forget the exact name for the technique off the top of my head. I'll probably edit it in at the bottom. That is the one downside to moving here. I unfortunately don't have a dedicated editor anymore, so I'm back to doing it myself.
But one of the things... So basically, this means the technique used here means that you could design any level you want in Spyro and not worry about the draw distance problems.
Yeah, you didn't have to cover it up with fog or anything like Silent Hill did. Which, to be fair, that was a horror game, so they used it to their advantage. But here, it's a collect-a-thon, and especially considering you have the ability to climb up really high and glide around and charge and everything, you needed big, wide open areas that felt like they went on for a while.
Especially since this game, one of the main draws of this game was free roaming.
Mm-hmm.
Back before free roaming became sort of the catch-all term for Grand Theft Auto clones.
Mm-hmm.
But
Spyro, I believe, was actually the first 3D game to use this trick, too. They were kind of innovators in that sense.
Another reason why we chose this game is because it's basically a huge part of PlayStation history.
Yeah, like, Spyro's pretty much as much a face of the PlayStation brand as Crash was back in the day. Not sure how valid that is anymore. I mean, they are making the Insanity Trilogy remake, which I'm kind of excited about.
I am curious about seeing the cartoon lunacy of Crash Bandicoot brought to current gen graphics and whatnot.
This is a little bit of a side note, but did you know they made a Skylanders cartoon?
Yeah, I saw. It's
not the best thing in the world, but one thing that happened recently that I thought was kind of interesting, they introduced Crash Bandicoot as a character in that series. Mm-hmm. He made a guest appearance in one episode. And he talks.
Extreme Rescue Mission!
Wait a second, Crash Bandicoot talks.
Yes.
Tell me he sounds like his voice is as squeaky as it is when he gets blown up like, wow!
No, actually, I wasn't expecting much from this performance, I should say. At least they went through the trouble of giving him an Australian accent.
Oh.
I'm getting completely turned around up here. I need to...
To the left.
To the left, to the left.
Everything we own in the tower to the left. That's another... So, coming back to the design part of this game. The game, these early levels we're going to encounter, show that the developers had a proper grasp on game design. Because as you can see, head to the top of this hill and just give another look around for the viewers there, or just head here.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to collect everything. Got to keep it moving forward at least somewhat.
Oh, okay. So basically, if you can see see that path that leads into that castle and see how it leads past that maze and everything?
Mm-hmm.
This is a good visual indicator for the player of a possible direction they can go to get a good idea of what to do.
Yeah, like, you even start this game in that central platform right there. Like, I can rush back up here for a second. They start you looking directly at the huge crystal dragon. Like, it's this big glowing beacon right in the center of this platform. You even have walls off to the side here. It's a pretty idiot-proof indicator of like, hey, dummy, come check this thing out.
Exactly. And from there you have this path here, which will take you to the balloonist. Basically, in each level, each homeworld, you'll find a balloonist, and that's how Spyro gets from each homeworld to the next.
But for now, we're gonna go hop into one of the actual levels here.
Ah, Dark Hollow. This has such a nice theme.
I could have started off on Stone Hill. Well, this entire game has great music.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Stuart Copeland.
Stuart Copeland, legendary drummer.
From The Police. You know, that's another thing I wanted to say before we started. I kind of want for our title card to include Every Step You Take by The Police. Just as a nice little nod to Stuart Copeland.
I'll find like an 8-bit version of it somewhere.
Oh, that'd be nice. There's probably one lying around. So, everybody, you'll notice that these enemies, by the way, are called Norks. They're little frogs, but they're basically, as the game would say, a combination of a gnome and an orc. Basically trying to be as homely as possible.
I wasn't sure if you'd escape those annoying little creatures. Of course, they wouldn't bother me.
I'm sure he has something very interesting to say, but...
We can't hear it because we need to keep it low enough so that it doesn't echo on the microphone. I mean, technically, because we're syncing up the audio, it won't sound too weird, but it still kind of does. That's the thing. I notice all kinds of little technical details in the recording, and yet nobody ever points them out in the comments section of my videos. So it's like, am I the only one? Am I just being way too critical and it sounds good to everybody else?
Am I going mad? Oh, speaking of mad, so the Norks here. You'll notice that in the homeworld they were completely unarmed.
But these ones are a little more clever. They've got these big metal shields.
And are actually brandishing swords. So for me, in terms of game design...
I never noticed that. If I actually wait for him to brandish the sword, I can still get past his metal shield with the fire breath.
Exactly. It brings me to my point. This is a good way to teach the player about the sort of puzzle mentality that this whole adventure is going to have.
Yeah, every enemy, you only have 2 basic tools, well, 3 technically, on how you get around places. You can jump, you can charge, you can breathe fire. It's as simple as that, and everything you can interact with in the environment is based around one of those 3 concepts. Like these guys with the shields. I can't set them on fire because they've got defense, and this guy I can't charge because he's too big.
As you can see...
I can't out-muscle him, so I've got to out-torch him.
Now these little guys, you can charge, but when they have their shield up, you can't flame them.
And they usually will respond to a flame attack by holding up their shield. That's just the way their AI is programmed.
So it's basically teaching you, hey, you gotta look before you leap.
Every single enemy takes a moment of consideration. Like, eventually you learn the cues. Like, you start looking for that metal sheen. You start looking for enemies that are much bigger than the other ones. Like, the rules are consistent is part of what makes it a good mechanic.
Yeah, this game's, one of the main design elements of this game was, let's design AI that actually interacts with you instead of just does what it's programmed to do.
Yeah, it's simultaneously, because, like I said, the rules are consistent. Every enemy has a specific way of going about it, but after a while you start to notice the patterns. Still, there is an element of they try to do everything they can with Spyro's different abilities. Like, I said this in one of the forums on my main channel, the Whatthefnu channel, but a good mechanic is a deep mechanic. It's a versatile mechanic. It's one that has all kinds of different uses.
Like Mario's jump. It's a very simple mechanic, but it's used to its highest. It's used to the highest degree.
Also, this glide move, which adds an extra layer to jumping. And again, that's something the dragons will actually tell you about that you free.
Oh yes, in fact, in Stone Hill, one of the dragons says, hey, if you want to get the most out of your glide, press X again, or just, the jump button again at the height of your jump.
Could have sworn there was something around here that I'm missing.
Oh, head right down here.
Right down this path off to the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm looking at right now, right?
Mm-hmm. In fact, that comes to another good part of this game. Ooh, look at this guy.
Now, this dude, he throws a big... You've already learned about the dudes with the shields and the metal and the big guys. But this guy has both. He's big and he's wearing this big protective plate. We try to flame him from the front and he just pushes us out of the way. But if you stand here and wait, you'll notice he has that big open backside, that hole in his armor. So you sneak up behind him, flame him from behind in his weak spot, and you get rewarded.
And because he and that guy down there are both guarding this pathway, again, it's reinforcing look and think before you proceed.
Mm-hmm.
Because...
I mean, he covers the entire hallway. It's really hard not to see that guy and think, whoa, hang on a second. Oh, there we go. I was thinking back to some of the later levels. Like, I was looking for a bunch of fireworks to try and open that thing up.
Oh, yeah, those... Yeah, the fireworks are going to be fantastic. Oh, you'll love them. Oh, by the way, for anyone viewing, that is not water we can swim in. That's basically kind of ooze.
Yeah, that's... I don't think they're... Do they even cover water in the first game?
In the first game, there's water, but Spyro cannot swim in the first game.
Right, that's a skill you learn later on.
Yeah, and the later games are the only ones where Spyro can swim, unfortunately.
I mean, I like games like Psychonauts. There's actually a lore reason in that game that describes why he can't swim. And to be fair, you can kind of get away with it because Spyro is a fantastical creature, and we know exactly where to find him.
Exactly.
But
here, I always interpreted that Spyro cannot swim because, well, he's very small and little and hasn't learned how to yet.
yeah, he is kind of a kid. That's why he has the high-pitched, squeaky voice. So, I wouldn't exactly call it really high-pitched. Again, this is my perfectly literal thinking coming into play.
High-pitched to me is like a little fairy voice.
Spyro's kind of got that little raspy, puts a lot of wind into each inflection.
Like he just kind of hit puberty.
Yeah.